this Niners team is in a playoff position despite having no linebackers and all the injuries that they've sustained. Is this a team that you believe in, Jaime, to make a playoff push just because of the coaching and everything that they've been able to accomplish thus far this year?
I think this goes back to a little bit of the conversation we had on our last show. And for those of you that are watching this right now, go back and listen to some of our other clips, particularly the ones that talk about this in the AFC with the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. I think the Niners are in that, or they're gonna make the playoffs, but probably not going to make a deep run tier that we discussed with some of those other AFC teams. And I think the biggest reason is just there's a point where you just lose too many guys, and they've been able to push through. They've been able to get the job done. But they play in a really tough division. They're not going to win their division, so they're going to have to play on the road throughout the postseason. They might have to play a top team because right now they're still the third best team in the division for my money. So then you're talking 6 or 7 seed if you're San Francisco. And at that point, it's going to be really difficult, I think, for them to just have enough horses at this point, particularly on defense, to get the job done. You know, this was a weird game. A ton of interceptions early, ton of turnovers, ball was on the ground. You know, they win this game and they win it fairly convincingly, but it wasn't a convincing win in that normal fashion where you feel really good about where this team is going forward. Pretty bad Brock Purdy game as well, which is a little bit concerning.
For sure.
You know, this week you've had all the Brandon Ayuk news that came out and surrounding this team. They're good enough at this point to get to the postseason, and this might be Kyle Shanahan's finest work in recent memory in terms of a coaching that he has done over the course of this season, given the talent level of this team right now and given the fact that he's had to do it with 2 different quarterbacks. But I don't see this team playing deep into January. I feel like they're going to get in and they're probably going to be a one and done team.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like they got enough pieces right now. If they were fully healthy, they could compete with anybody. And I know the Rams are probably, I know they beat the Niners earlier, but like that's a team that's given them a lot of trouble before, and I'm sure they don't want to play them in the postseason if they happen to run into them either in the first round if they fall out of that top spot or in the divisional round. But I just don't think they're going to have enough horses to get the job done at the end of the day. And the NFC is really, really good this year.
Yeah, it sure is. And I think the point that you got across with, you know, the coaching that Kyle Shanahan has done this year has been excellent. And I think that they're going to be a team that nobody wants to play, right? Because you've got guys that have been there and done that. They've been to Super Bowls. They've played. They've won together as a unit, and nobody's going to want to play them. But I just can't see them consistently winning game after game because they're going to have to be on the road no matter what they're doing. And the NFC is so loaded. Now, anything can happen when you get into the postseason, but I'm not going to bank on kind of the way and the style that they're getting games won by. Like tonight was not a convincing victory because you had bad quarterback play, and that's very hard to win sustainably over long periods of time. And I get that, yes, Bryce has had a much better year this year, but Bryce also had a pretty rough game today against the San Francisco 49ers. This was not a good game. This was not, if you were looking for good offense, this wasn't your game. Let's just say that. So let's just say that.
It was not, for sure. And some interesting stuff. I'm going to cheap plug to my my Twitter X page here that you see at the beginning of the show at Jaime Eisner, just my first and last name put together. Bryce Young has some very fascinating splits. And it is basically him versus Atlanta and him versus everybody else. And I'm going to read them to you right now. So in his this is just in his starts. In 5 career starts against Atlanta, he's 4-1, averaging more than 226 passing yards a game, 10 total touchdowns versus 2 interceptions in those 5 starts. Everybody else, 8-26, 183 passing yards per game, 38 touchdowns to 26 interceptions.
Very interesting.
So, I mean, he basically on a per game basis throws twice as many touchdowns, throws about 45 more yards per game. And the turnovers are an astronomical difference between them. And I know obviously that's a division rival. It's just a fascinating, particularly given Bryce Young's previous game where he put up monster numbers, kind of look back and go, he kind of owns the Falcons, and then everybody else has been a problem. And, you know, this was a tough game for Carolina coming off. You know, they had a chance to go in first place in their division with a win in this game. You have a red zone interception. You know, you have some things go wrong, and they had a chance to win this game, but you never really felt like they were going to complete a comeback and win. And that's just kind of, you know, they're a team that is had a nice little run here.
Mm-hmm.
Their record already looks way better than you ever would anticipated here at 6-6. But I don't think this is a very good team in general. I don't think this is a playoff team. Some stuff to build off of for the future for them, but this is not exactly a hallmark, benchmark, cornerstone win for the 49ers. They got the job done. They win the game. You can only talk about it yesterday. You can only play the team in front of you, and
Yeah,
they
of
played the team in
course.
front of them, and they won. And that's what they needed to do. But this is not a game that I'm looking at and saying, "Oh wow, this is a big moment for the Niners." This was just they got it done. And if you watch this game, I feel like you kind of just have a sour feeling about both of these football teams coming out of Monday Night Football.